Welcome to the Hollywood Scholar. I'm Jed Morgan, and the Doctor Who franchise is no stranger to virtue signaling, especially under the Chris Chibnall run. Virtue signaling was at the height of their priorities. Amongst all the other things that were going on set, it wasn't telling a good story. It wasn't about making great characters. It wasn't about honoring the Doctor. It was about virtue signaling as much as possible to woke Twitter and left ideologues. And that was the only thing they ever cared about, and it really didn't do so well for them. But that disease was evident even before the Chris Chibnall run during the Peter Capaldi era, with Bill being the best example of it, where she was constantly virtue signaling that she was a lesbian companion. Well, it looks like Russell T Davies is continuing that trend with virtue signaling to high heaven. Yes, the new Doctor is a black man. He's at least a man, and that was one of my priorities, is I wanted to see the Doctor back as a man. His race, I never really considered it a big issue, but it could be if it was weaponized against the fans, if it was used as a major cornerstone of his personality that was brought up constantly. If it's just like, hey, here's the Doctor, great, would have been fine. But now they're virtue signaling about how it may not have even been a man. It may not have been a man or a woman by current day standards. Russell T Davies spoke in a recent interview about how they were looking for all backgrounds and all genders, everyone. All two genders. Oh, wait, no. There's like 75 now, or is it up to 900 yet? I'm wondering how far they're going to go. What's the current record? Today's the 6th of January? Maybe we're up to 200. It's hard to keep track, but the virtue signaling is continuing. It's not what they actually chose to do, so you shouldn't be able to virtue signal off of this, but Russell T Davies is finding a way and kind of covering his ass, because there was some initial criticization of the casting because it wasn't a woman again. It kind of got away with it because it was a black man versus a white man, but there were still some people on Twitter very upset that it went back to being a male, and so it seems like he's retroactively trying to counteract that criticism with virtue signaling of untold proportions. In a recent interview, he said, as ever, we turned to the casting director and said, bring us the best in the land. We want all backgrounds, all genders. And he specifically put in all genders. And I have no doubt that he actually said that to the casting director. That's not the point here. The point is that he feels the need to bring it up now to get some clout. That's the only thing that you will get out of this, is clout. There's no creative nor marketing reason legitimately for fans who have been so burned by this franchise. There's no reason to try to entice them back with this knowledge. Nobody actually cares. As long as you cast the right person, we don't care who wasn't cast. But this is just clout. That's all this could be serviced for. There is not a single other possibility that makes any sort of sense. It's just to be like, hey, I'm Russell T Davies and I'm woke. Isn't that so amazing? I'm like, awesome, guys. See, I like your people. And it's really quite annoying. Even Phil Collinson, who I was excited about his return almost as much as Russell T Davies initially, because he was involved in some great Doctor Who in the past as well. But he went on to reveal, we saw men, we saw women, we even saw a non-binary actor. That's the big thing that the mainstream and access media are running with from these interviews, is the fact that they saw non-binary actors. We nearly had a non-binary actor playing the Doctor, and I almost would have preferred that, because a lot of people who were hesitant, including myself, about the future turn of Russell T Davies would have been burned and completely out by that announcement, because that was not the top priority of telling the good story with the actual character, the Doctor, if they had cast a non-binary actor, and it would have been a lot easier for people to disassociate from the future. But there is still some give and take among a lot of the fans, including myself. I admit I am a victim of allowing my emotions and a semblance of excitement to push me towards wanting Doctor Who to be good once again, and there still being a tad of hope in the future of the return of Russell T Davies. But if they had actually cast a non-binary actor, that would be dead within me and so many other fans of this franchise. He only had a non-binary actor. But again, this, just with Russell T Davies, this interview with Phil Collinson doesn't service the story. It doesn't service to entice the audience back. All it services is to say to these woke ideologues who were upset about the casting, hey, we're woke too, aren't we awesome? And it probably makes Disney feel a lot better for funding them. That is just not something that I'm okay with. Speaking of Disney and their funding, apparently there was some misinformation going out. I don't remember who initially reported it. I believe it was the Digital Spy or the Radio Times, that the Disney Plus involvement in the Doctor Who franchise would make the budget per episode up to $10 million. I never made a dedicated video about that per se, but I did mention it in several videos. Turns out that Russell T Davies has debunked that rumor. Apparently he'd be living on his base on the moon if that were true. It's a lot smaller than that, apparently, and it is still a very handsome budget, and this doesn't really affect my interest going forward, but it's a big piece of news that I wanted to briefly mention, is Disney Plus is not funding it to that strong of a degree to put it over that asinine, that monumental threshold. So it's still going to be lower budgets, pretty impressive, but still lower budget. And hopefully that means that Disney Plus is not funding it to the degree that they automatically get, say, in its story. Not that that's going to make any difference with Russell T Davies coming out and saying stupid shit like this for personal clout, but less Disney involvement is better. So the less money Disney puts into the project, the better. So I see this as probably a better thing, but not really changing all that much. And finally, Phil Collinson went on to say the only rule when they were casting the doctors, they were looking for someone younger, under 30. And that's fine. I definitely like younger actors in the role the majority of the time. Some of my favorite doctors are all the ones below 30 or at least below 40. A lot of the younger ones are my favorite ones. And so that doesn't bother me one way or another. I do like Peter Capaldi and some of the older ones as well. It just needs to be the right person for the job for the stories that they're intending to tell. I'm concerned that that is not the priority, is that we're looking for non-binary actors. And as we all know, we can't really tell what Shudigatwa is or what he isn't. And it doesn't matter as long as he keeps it out of the role. But it doesn't look like he's capable of that. In every single interview he's done, every other role he's done, he's been a little too effeminate for the role of the Doctor. So this is a mess of untold proportions. And we just get virtue signaling from Russell T Davies and Phil Collinson in response to fans, legitimate in most cases and non-legitimate in the case of being upset that it's not a woman Doctor again, concerns. This is all we get to assuage these concerns. And it's not going to be enough for anyone who's not a woke ideologue who's just happy to the livelong day that a non-binary actor was potentially cast. That's the only people that are going to be happy about this virtue signaling. For everybody else, all the normal people out there, all this does is the service to drive them away from the franchise once again. But anyway, that's all I have for today. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Anon.
Hey, yo, are you feeling what I'm doing up in here? Oh, I know you are. Do you miss all the good, compelling stories that we used to get back in Hollywood that they ain't putting down no more? I know you missing it. So check out my book series, Odyssey of a Phoenix, a mythological epic about philosophy, morality, and modern-day mental illness issues, baby. Book 1, Down in Flames. Book 2, Apocalypse Then. These are currently on sale. What are you waiting for? Get your hands on them. And we got Book 3, Kill the Dark, is coming down the pipeline. Just wait for all the good stuff that's dropping. You ain't gonna be disappointed, fam.